I keep replaying that moment when Liesel stepped back into Port Charles and something about her just felt off. Not dramatically off. Not the kind of thing where alarms go off and music swells. Just wrong in a quieter way. The way she avoided eye contact. The way she brushed past Felicia like she didn't even register her. That's not Liesel. Or at least not the version of her I thought I understood. And I can't shake the feeling that whatever she brought back from New Zealand wasn't just a secret. It was something that had already started unraveling her from the inside. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but there was a heaviness in her posture, like she was carrying something she couldn't put down. Not grief exactly, not fear either. Something more complicated than that. And then when the truth started slipping out, piece by piece, it didn't feel like a revelation. It felt like confirmation of something I didn't even realize I was already suspicious of. Nathan being alive? Even saying that still feels strange, because we've mourned him. We've processed that loss, or at least we thought we did. So when Liesel revealed that she found him barely alive, hidden away like someone had tried to erase him, it didn't feel like a miracle. It felt unsettling. Like something had been wrong for a long time and we just hadn't noticed. And I keep coming back to this idea. If Nathan was out there all this time, suffering, hidden, then who exactly have we been watching in Port Charles? Because that's where everything starts to twist in a way I can't quite straighten out in my head. There was already a Nathan here, living, breathing, interacting like nothing was out of place, and no one questioned it. Not really. Which makes me wonder, were the signs always there? Were there moments where he felt just slightly off, just slightly different, and everyone brushed it aside because they wanted to believe? I can't help but think that's how this kind of deception works. Not through big obvious cracks, but through tiny inconsistencies that people choose not to look at too closely. And then the name came out. Cassius. I didn't expect that. I don't think any of us did. Another son. A twin. A life that was never supposed to exist. Or at least a life that Liesel believed didn't. And I keep circling back to that detail because it changes everything. If Liesel thought Cassius died at birth, then what does it mean that he survived? Who took him? Who raised him? Or maybe no one did. Not in the way a child is supposed to be raised. Because there's something about Cassius that doesn't feel like it started with revenge. That feels too simple. It feels like something deeper. Something that had been building long before he ever decided to take Nathan's place. I keep asking myself, what kind of life creates someone who doesn't just want to confront their family, but replace them entirely? That's not just anger. That's something closer to erasure. Like he didn't just want Nathan gone, he wanted to become him. To step into his life, his relationships, his identity, and wear it like it always belonged to him. And I can't decide if that's more terrifying or more tragic. Because part of me thinks if Cassius had been given even a fraction of what Nathan had, would any of this have happened? But then again, maybe I'm being too generous. Maybe I'm trying to make sense of something that isn't meant to be understood in a clean, logical way. There's also this detail that keeps bothering me, and I can't quite articulate why. The way Liesel handled it. The fact that she didn't immediately expose Cassius, didn't immediately correct the lie. Instead, she hid it. She tried to manage it, control it. And I get it. On some level, she's a mother. She just found out she has another son, one she thought she lost. Of course she wouldn't want to destroy him. But at the same time, there's something about that choice that feels like it made everything worse. I keep thinking, if she had told the truth right away, would things have spiraled like this? Or was it already too late by the time she realized what Cassius had done? Because let's be honest, Cassius didn't just stumble into Nathan's life. This was planned. Carefully, deliberately planned. He knew enough to convince everyone. He studied Nathan, understood him, replicated him. That takes time. That takes obsession. And it makes me wonder, How long had he been watching? There's a version of this story where Cassius has been in the shadows for years, observing, learning, waiting for the right moment. And if that's true, then this wasn't just about taking a life. It was about claiming something he believed was stolen from him. I don't know. I keep going back and forth on that. Because it's easy to frame Cassius as the villain here. He impersonated his brother, manipulated everyone, caused unimaginable harm. But there's also this part of me that can't ignore the possibility that he sees himself as the victim. And maybe that's what makes this so uncomfortable. Because if he truly believes that, then in his mind, he wasn't stealing Nathan's life. He was reclaiming his own. But then there's Nathan, the real Nathan. And that's where everything snaps back into focus for me. Because while all of this was happening, he was out there, hurt, alone, nearly erased. And I can't even begin to imagine what that must have felt like. To know that someone else was living your life while you were fighting just to survive. And when he finally came back, when he stood there and confronted Cassius, it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like something breaking. That line he said, I keep hearing it in my head. Not loudly, not dramatically, just firmly. Like he had already made peace with what needed to happen. You are not me. There's something about that moment that feels final in a way I can't fully explain. Because it wasn't just about identity. It was about reclaiming something that had been violated in a way that can't really be undone. And Liesl, she was caught in the middle of it all. I keep thinking about her in that moment, watching both of her sons standing there, one she raised, one she lost without ever knowing him, and now she has to choose, even if she doesn't want to. Even if she tells herself she's trying to save both of them, because I don't think that was ever really possible. And maybe that's the hardest part of all this, the idea that there was no outcome where everyone walks away intact. Someone was always going to lose. Maybe all of them were. When Nathan decided to turn Cassius in, I felt this strange mix of relief and discomfort. Relief because it felt like justice, like a line was finally being drawn. But discomfort because it didn't feel clean. It didn't feel like a resolution, it felt like a fracture. Because what does it do to someone to send their own brother to prison? Even if that brother did something unforgivable. Even if it was the right thing to do. I keep wondering if Nathan will ever fully reconcile that, or if it's going to sit there quietly under everything else, shaping the way he sees himself. And Cassius, even in that final moment, there was something in his expression that didn't feel like defeat. That's what's been bothering me the most, I think. He didn't look broken. He looked unresolved. Like this wasn't the end for him. And maybe that's just me overthinking again, but in this world, it's hard not to, because nothing ever really stays buried. And someone like Cassius, I don't know if a prison cell is enough to contain whatever it is that's driving him. I keep asking myself, what happens if he gets out? Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. What does he become after this? Because if his entire identity was built around becoming Nathan, then what's left when that's taken away from him? That kind of emptiness doesn't just disappear. It transforms. And I'm not sure into what. And then there's Liesl, left in the aftermath. I can't stop thinking about her. Because in a way she lost both of her sons. One to the system, the other to a decision she can't undo. I wonder if she blames herself. Actually, no. I don't wonder. I'm almost certain she does. The question is how deeply that guilt is going to reshape her moving forward. Because this isn't just about what happened. It's about what it reveals. About the parts of her past that she thought were settled, now coming back in a way she can't control. And I keep circling back to this idea that maybe the truth here isn't as simple as it looks. Because, yes, Cassius is responsible for what he did. That much is clear. But the path that led him there, that feels more complicated, more tangled. I don't know if the show is going to explore that, or if it's even supposed to, but I can't help thinking about it, because if Cassius really did grow up in the shadows, believing he was abandoned, believing that his life was stolen from him before it even began, then in some twisted way, this was inevitable. Or maybe that's just me trying to find meaning in something that doesn't have a neat explanation. I keep going back to that first moment though. Liesel returning, avoiding everyone, carrying that weight. It feels different now, heavier. Because now we know what she knew, or at least part of it. And I can't shake the feeling that even now, we still don't know everything. Like there are still pieces missing. Still connections that haven't been revealed yet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is exactly what it looks like. A tragic story about identity, loss, and impossible choices. But there's a part of me that keeps whispering, what if there's more? What if Cassius didn't act alone? What if someone helped him, shaped him, guided him toward this? What if Nathan's disappearance wasn't just a random act, but something more deliberate, more orchestrated? I don't have proof of that. It's just a feeling, but it won't go away. And if that's true, then this story isn't over. Not even close. Because the kind of pain this has created doesn't just fade. It lingers. It evolves. It finds new ways to surface. I keep thinking about Nathan, trying to move forward, trying to rebuild something that was taken from him. And I wonder, will he ever feel like himself again? Or will there always be that shadow, that question of who he is now after all of this? And Liesel, how does she live with both of her sons, existing in completely different worlds, both shaped by her in ways she can't fully control? And Cassius sitting somewhere, waiting, thinking, that's the part that unsettles me the most. Because I don't think he's done. I really don't. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is where his story ends. But I can't help feeling like this is just the beginning of something much darker. Something that hasn't fully revealed itself yet. Because if someone can step into another person's life that completely, if they can become someone else so convincingly that no one notices, then how do we know it won't happen again? Or worse, how do we know it hasn't already?